Hello, YNABers. My name is Jesse Meekum, and this is podcast number 43 for You Need a Budget, where we teach you 4 rules to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck, get out of debt, and save more money. A while ago, we went to Disneyland, and I have a photo that I took of a photo. When they offer you the ability to purchase photos of yourselves in the roller coaster, I just grabbed my phone and took a picture of that picture, and it was hilarious because Porter was barely sitting next to me. His eyes were huge. It was his first time on his roller coaster, and he had no idea what to expect. Harrison was in the very front, and that was the most intense face you've probably ever seen on a 4-year-old. And I was thinking back on that magical adventure, and it's a lot like the adventure that you put yourself through all the time, where you're on a cash flow roller coaster. Everything seems fine, you're paying your bills, and then wham! A big bill lands in your mailbox and throws you for a loop. Stress levels increase, tensions rise in a relationship. You survive it, things calm down for a bit, and then wham! Something else crops up, just when you were finally gaining some traction. So I want to answer in this podcast the question that you all have asked yourselves: why aren't we getting any traction? You may even make good money, and you just can't get ahead. Here is the answer. So I ask people to list monthly expenses, and when I do, I set them up for failure. I use the word monthly, and your mind goes immediately to things you pay monthly, say like a cell phone, cable, mortgage or rent, groceries, gas. When you finally can't think of any more, I'm 99% sure I'll be able to have you be living in the not reality section of your finances. People always underestimate their expense commitments because they miss almost every expense that doesn't happen on a frequent basis. That's to be expected, right? What we aren't aware of, we disregard. So, how do you get off that stressful cash flow roller coaster and finally gain some traction? You adopt Rule 2. You save for that rainy day. Rainy days, as many of you already know, are when a bill comes due and it's larger and less frequent than your expected monthly bills. Wham! Rainy days are both predictable and unpredictable. Consider your property taxes. A predictable big bill due once a year, but what about your school tuition? That's also predictable, right? Once or twice a year. Big bill. Car insurance that's paid every 6 months, predictable. Car repairs, who knows when that bill will arrive? That is unpredictable. When those rainy day expenses arrive, you're at the top of the roller coaster. Then you scramble, maybe put a few expenses on a card you think you could have otherwise handled with a normal month, and you barely make it through. When the stress is over, you totally forget about it. Your car insurance bill will come again in 6 months, and you'll be slammed again. Put a little more on the card. The cycle continues. More stress, a bit more debt, maybe a few more arguments with your spouse. Now, there is a place called your true expenses, and that is where you want to live. To get there, in those months where you don't have one of those big bills, with Rule 2, you're still setting money aside as if you do. You're making every large expense a monthly expense. So, imagine that you are dealing with some Lego blocks, and you have different colors for different expenses. So gas for the cars is blue to remind you of blue skies while you're in stop-and-go traffic. Maybe you've got some purple blocks that are food, and food stays fairly consistent, and you place each block by each month. And you're looking at those blocks and you're saying, well, that's pretty normal. What about a perfectly foreseeable, totally predictable expense, your mortgage or rent? Maybe that's an orange block. And you stack those blocks on top and you'll see, okay, here's our normal situation. They're all evenly spread, and you're basically in the not reality section. Everyone thinks of those blocks when they list their expenses. It doesn't represent your true expenses. Think of Christmas, a massive green and red stack of blocks. It comes every year, and you never see it coming, even though they now start selling Christmas trees in October and playing Christmas music just after the 4th of July. So those unpredictable expenses, how can you break those up? You take your big Christmas expense and break that up into 12 equal spots and place it in each month, and you're fine. Car repairs, you just guess. That's still budgeting. You're just guessing. Not planning for an expense because you don't know exactly how much it will cost is like going on a hike where rain is forecast but not bringing any rain gear, because you don't know if it'll be a light drizzle or torrential downpour. I submit that a $2 poncho would be better than nothing. So for those unpredictable expenses such as car repairs, home repairs, or your wife's shoe budget, or maybe your own golf budget, set aside something. You'll be glad the money's there when the expense hits. So you pretend that the car will break down at some point. You say, well, let's just guess and say it'll cost us $150 in repairs every month. You just set that money aside as if they were sending you a bill. That, once you have those abnormal, larger expenses broken into monthly expenses, that is a representation of your true expenses. That you can budget for. That is what you plan against. And knowing your true expenses gives you excellent information to decide how to spend your money right now. All of the future expenses come back in time and sit there with the now expenses. So when you're saying, I want this thing, I want to follow through on this impulse purchase, you have all of the relevant information at hand. That is what will get you off the cash flow roller coaster. And handling your money in that way will keep you from having to answer that question of why you're not getting ahead. You will be getting ahead. Until next time, follow YNAB's 4 rules and you will win financially. You have not budgeted like this.